So you're trying to get into video editing and gaming, but you only have $800 to spend on your PC? Well, let's dive into my parts list and go over what you can get for about $800. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Brian and welcome to vontech. On this channel, we mostly focus on tech reviews and tutorials, even though I can't really say tutorials very well. If you're new here, consider subscribing and be sure to check out the description box below for any related links. Today, we're going to dive into something that I feel is the best sub $800 video editing, 4K video editing / gaming / streaming PC that you can currently build for your money. So I have been building PCs for over 15 years, and I can tell you right now is a great time to be diving into, again, either PC gaming or video editing or streaming or anything like that, because there are so many choices. And what the choices do on the market is it drives the prices down. So you have a ton of great prices right now if you're looking to get into, again, streaming, PC, gaming, or video editing. So if you're interested in what parts that I have, if you want to follow along, you can go down in the description below, and I will have a PC part picker list out that obviously lists out everything that I have put into this build. As for the CPU, we're looking at the Ryzen 5 2600. You can get it for about $120 right now on several retailers. You're going to be getting a 6-core 12-thread processor that will be plenty strong enough to do 4K editing, to play games, as well as to do streaming if you decide you want to go down that path. It's a great all-rounder chip for all three of those topics. And for the price to performance, it's absolutely incredible right now. Black Friday is coming up, so keep in mind sales might get even better going into the holiday season. So that's a thought to keep in mind. Again, you can get a 3000 CPU, 3000 series CPU, but it's just gonna be more expensive. And the performance is there. You definitely get a uplift in performance, but for the price, I don't really think that there's anything better right now than the 2600 or 2700X when it comes to price to performance. As for the motherboard, I went with the MSI B450 Tomahawk / Tomahawk Max. If you can get I've noticed that the Tomahawk Max goes for about the same price or even a little bit cheaper than the normal Tomahawk, which is going to be about $120. And the benefit of getting the Max is that it's going to be more future-proof for like the 3000 series CPUs if you decide to upgrade to one of those in the future. Basically, they upgraded the BIOS chip to a 32 megabyte BIOS chip, so it allows you to get the extra features that you need for, or not necessarily the extra features, but the extra compatibility for the 3000 series CPUs. The VRM is really good, so if you want to do some overclocking, even on the Ryzen 2700, 2700X, you'll be able to do that. You should be able to do okay overclocking on the 3000 series as well. Just keep in mind that there are better motherboards out there for the 3000 series CPUs if you decide you want to go up and upgrade in the future. Again, for the price though, this B450 motherboard is absolutely incredible. A key thing to keep in mind is if you plan on having a ton of drives, or at least to expand to a ton of drives on this actual motherboard, is that if you use the M.2 slot, which we do in this build, you actually disabled the last two SATA ports on this motherboard. So it's just something to keep in mind when it comes to building with this motherboard itself. I've built with the motherboard. It works really well. I like it a lot. I've had no issues with anything in regards to this motherboard. Okay, so moving on, we're looking at the memory. So for video editing, ideally you'd want 32 gigs of RAM, but the problem with that is that the price kind of jacks up. If you can afford adding a little bit more money, an extra like $80 or so, you might be able to get a 32 gig kit for about $150 right now, around the 3200 or 3600 speed, which again, 3600 speed is not really recommended for the Ryzen 2000 series, just because the memory bus can't actually handle it. So I actually put in a 16 gig kit of 3200 memory from G.Skill. It is the G.Skill Flare. Again, 2x8 gig DIMMs, 3200 speed. So what I wanted to mention on this is when you're looking for memory, you always want to check out the QVL list for memory itself. And the problem with what I noticed, the one issue I noticed on this motherboard for the MSI motherboard is that there wasn't a ton of compatible. There's a ton of compatible memory DIMMs on their list, but there wasn't a lot that I could find on Newegg for at least a decent price. So when I was going through and picking out this list, I did find a set that I've used on this motherboard before, and I had no issues. And that was this G-Skill Flare X. That's why I threw it in there. You shouldn't have any issues with most majority of the DIMMs, the kits that you decide to buy. If you decide you wanted like to add a couple dollars and get an RGB version, or if you wanted to just get the cheapest one on the board, just keep in mind that if it's not on the QVL list, that means they haven't tested it themselves, so they couldn't have confirmed that it works. But it doesn't mean it's not going to work. Again, my kit, I have a 2700 in my system, and I run 3200. I use 64 gigs of 3200, no problem at all. On my, again, I have the B450 Tomahawk myself. So again, if you decide you want to choose a different set of RAM, just keep in mind that if you can bounce it off the QVL list that's on MSI's website, that'd be better. But if you can't and it's not on there, then just keep in mind it might not work as well as you'd want it to. So again, it's just something to keep in mind. I have never had any issues with DDR4 working on any of the motherboards I've built with for the Ryzen 3000 or 2000 series, or even 1000 series. So I wouldn't be too concerned. Again, just keep that in the back of your mind. Moving on to the next one, we have storage. So for storage, I chose two different things, and the reason why I chose a hard drive to go with it, as you video edit and as you record videos, that takes up a lot of space. Games also take up a ton of space. With that said, when you're going out there and you're purchasing hard drives or solid states for this, you got to remember that you're gonna need the space. So I threw in two different ones. I threw in a NVMe solid state drive, which will give you great speeds, read and write speeds, 512 gigs, so it's going to be perfect for all of your programs and your OS. And then I also threw a 2 terabyte Western Digital Blue on there, and it's about $55 for the Western Digital Blue. That'll be perfect for storing your video files or your games or both or whatever. I did notice that there was actually a 3 terabyte Seagate hard drive for around $65 if you wanted to bump that 2 terabyte up to 3 terabyte. Again, it's more space, it's more storage that you have to allow, again, to archive any of your extra videos. Just keep your raw data instead of, kind of shooting your video, editing everything, rendering out the video, and then deleting the raw files. It's nice to kind of have the old files if you can. I know when you're starting out, sometimes you don't have that option, so you do go down that path. But if you can, it's always nice to store them, at least for a little while, or until you can afford to get a backup solution, which I definitely would recommend. I know I have a NAS myself, so it's nice to have that. Again, that's why I put the 2 terabyte, and if you want to upgrade it for about $10 more, you'd be able to get the 3 terabyte Seagate right now for about $65. Moving beyond storage, we have our video card, and I think the GTX 1660 Super is perfect for this price range. It'll give you great 1080p gaming on basically max settings and 60 frames per second. And the benefit of the 1660 Super, it's kind of in a weird position because it's about 15% cheaper on average than the 1660 Ti, but it's only about 4% slower than the 1660 Ti. And then it's only about like $10-15 more expensive than the 1660, but it also gives you that 4 to 5% bump. So for me, I think the 1660 Super is in a great price at in the low 200s now. I think it's about $230. About $230 for this EVGA one that I picked out. So you're actually getting a really solid price to performance for 1080p gaming, and this will also be perfect for like DaVinci Resolve. It'll do a pretty good job at handling what DaVinci Resolve throws at it if you decide to jump into Fusion on DaVinci Resolve and kind of do like some graphic design and stuff like that. Now keep in mind, Fusion's pretty hectic when it comes to beating up your system. So if you get this system, you decide to put it together and you do have issues on Fusion, just be a little bit patient. Make sure you're using proxies or whatever else you need to make sure Fusion runs really well. Because again, Fusion can beat up your system. And that's only if you're using DaVinci Resolve for video editing. But anyways, I wanted to mention that. So again, moving on even to the next part would be the case itself. I picked out the P300 from vontech. It's a mid-tower and it's about $60, and in my opinion, it's one of the best cases for the money. I just built my brother's rig in that some 3-4 months ago, and it's great for the money. Like I said, it works really well. It's cheap, it has good features in it. If you prefer a different case around 60, 70, 80 bucks, go ahead, feel free to swap it in. Just keep in mind, that's your preference, really. I like the aesthetic of the P series for vontech, but I know some people don't. So if you don't like it, then go ahead and swap it out. Case is always going to be preference, and it's going to really be based on what you want in regards to your case itself. But I feel like Vontech always really offers a lot of good cases for the money. And moving on to the last part of the build, you're looking at the power supply, which I chose a Seasonic. I don't know how they pronounce this actual model, but like was S12-3 or S12II or triple I. I'm not quite sure, but it's a Seasonic S12 triple I, we'll call it, 550 watt power supply. If you know how to say that name, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what I should be saying when I say this, because I feel like an idiot just rambling on. You can get it for about 60 bucks. I haven't personally used this actual power supply, but I have used the S12 II, and I have that actually in one of my servers at home, and it works absolutely incredible. I've had it probably for 2019 now, so at least 5 years, about 5 years, 5-6 years, and I've never had an issue with it. And then I also have the modular version of this, which is the M12-2 or the II, and that one works really well, and on top of that as well. So Seasonic is a reputable brand, make good power supplies. I would definitely recommend this S12, again, triple I, whatever you want to call it, 550 watt. It'll be plenty of wattage for your system if you decide to upgrade to a better graphics card or upgrade to a more power hungry CPU. You have that option. What we're kind of like in this really good spot, because GPUs and CPUs are constantly getting more efficient. So if you decide to upgrade them, that power supply, you know, probably should last you a long time and through several builds if you want it to, as long as you're not going, end up going to like a super high end build. But anyways, those are the parts I actually picked out for this build. I feel like for just under $800 post-tax, depending on where you live, and it doesn't include your Windows, it doesn't include your monitors or peripherals, but it's a really, in my opinion, it's a really solid build that you can have right now for under $800 that will be perfect for 4K editing. It'll be great for streaming, and it'll be great for gaming, 1080p gaming at 60 FPS at least. A couple notes I want to mention: if you want to save some money and you're lucky enough to live close enough to a micro center, if you get the B450 Tomahawk and the R5's 2600, you can actually save about 30 bucks. You get that combo for about $200 at Micro Center. So again, you'll save about $35. If you decided you want to bump it up and go for a R7 2700X over what you're currently spending, you're only going to spend about $10 more over the current price if you would purchase these from, like, say, Newegg or Amazon, like the R5's 2600 and the B450 Tomahawk. You'd actually get it for about $10 more, and you'd get 2 more cores and 4 more threads and a whole lot more performance. So if you do have a a Micro Center that's close enough to you, go there and get your motherboard and your CPU, because you'll be able to get a really solid price. You'll have to check again where your local ones are, microcenter.com, and see if it's close by. If not, it's kind of a bummer for you, but I know how it feels. Our closest Micro Center is about an hour away. I've driven there a ton of times. It's not too far that I can't drive, but it is definitely out of the way if I decide I want to go. That's just a little bit of tidbit. You could also save a little bit of money if you needed to by getting a B450, I think it's B450A Pro from MSI as well. It's a pretty solid motherboard. I would prefer and recommend getting the Tomahawk at least. But again, if you absolutely needed to save money, that's a way you could save money too. And keep in mind that this build is pretty customizable too. So say you don't have all the money that you need right now, you only have enough, if you need to go out and not buy the second storage drive and only run off of the M.2, you have that option. You could just, wait to buy the Western Digital 2 terabyte hard drive and then just get the solid state. And 512 gigs, it's not going to hold a whole ton, but it'll hold hold the OS, it'll hold quite a few programs, and it'll hold a couple games, and it'll hold enough, it'll have enough storage so you could do some, video editing. You'll have to, be courteous of, or to keep in mind on what your storage is like, but it's pretty solid size. So just keep in mind you could save yourself like $55-$60 right now and not get your hard drive. You could swap out your, if you see a really good sale on a 1660 Ti, you can go out and pick up the 1660 Ti. I thought I saw one earlier that was like about $15 more than the one I have on here. I think it was about $245 after rebate. So if you don't mind ponying up the money up front and then getting the rebate back, and doing the rebate process, you could save yourself $30 there. I've done a ton of rebates, so I kind of know how the whole process works. It's kind of a hassle, but again, it really depends on you and what whether or not you're willing to you know, again, save the money that way. But again, this is really flexible, and if you have say a $850 budget, you could you know, pump up yourself to a Ryzen 7 2700X, or you could upgrade your Tomahawk to a B450 Pro Carbon motherboard from MSI, which is also really solid. Probably the best B450 motherboard under $200. And yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I mean, there's a ton of data here. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to, you know, drop them in the comments below. If you feel like there's any components that I could have swapped in here to make this build better for like roughly around $750 to $800, let me know in the comments below as well. I like the feedback. I like to know what you guys think when it comes to if I'm making mistakes, or if there's things that I missed. Again, I've been building PCs for 15 years at least now. Actually, no, it's almost closer to 17 years, and I know quite a bit, but it doesn't mean I know everything. So, you know, I always love hearing the feedback from you guys to know kind of like what you think that I could have done better. So let me know in the comments below for that. If you have any questions, again, leave those in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to smack that like button, kick it, drop kick it. I don't care, elbow it, do whatever you want to that like button. If you didn't like the video, do the same thing to the dislike button. But if you dislike this video, be sure to go in the comments and let me know why you didn't like the video. What did I say that you know, kind of like made you not like the video? Let me know there. And be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on my future content. I'll be doing a lot of builds videos for various builds. Again, this one's for video editing and gaming. I'm looking at doing, you know, other types of builds, other types of budgets, depending on, you know, how much money you guys have to spend. And be sure to share this video to anybody you think that it might help, because I know there's a lot of people that are trying to get into PC gaming, or trying to get into, you know, video editing or streaming or this or that. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for swinging on in. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later. See ya.